The gates are shaking, wood splinters under repeated udarov. Men shout from the walls. Smoke fills the air. You can hear it now. A deep, thunderous sound. Cannons, again and again. The walls of Constantinople have stood for nearly 1,000 years. They have stopped armies, repelled sieges, defended an empire, but today, something is different, because outside the city stands a force unlike anything seen before, and inside the city, defenders are running out of time. Within hours, Constantinople will fall, and history will never be the same. In 1453, Constantinople is more than just a city. It is the last remnant of a once great empire that ruled for over 1,000 years. The Byzantine Empire has lost most of its lands, but its capital still stands as a symbol of power, faith, and history. Massive stone walls protect the city on land. The waters of the Bosphorus and the Golden Horn guard it from the sea. Inside, narrow streets wind between ancient buildings, markets, and churches. At the center rises the magnificent Hagia Sophia, its massive dome dominating the skyline. Merchants sell goods from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Priests hold services in candlelit churches. Citizens go about their daily lives, even as uncertainty grows. Because while Constantinople still appears strong from the outside, its power has faded. Its population has shrunk. Its army is small, and beyond its walls, a new empire is rising. An empire that sees this city not as untouchable, but as its ultimate prize. To the east of Constantinople, a new power is rising with incredible speed. The Ottoman Empire has spent decades expanding across Anatolia and the Balkans, steadily surrounding what remains of the Byzantine world. City after city has fallen. Trade routes have shifted, and now Constantinople stands almost completely isolated. At the center of this expansion is a young ruler, Mehmed II. He becomes Sultan at just 19 years old, but his ambition is far greater than his age suggests. For Mehmed, conquering Constantinople is not only a military objective, it is a legacy, a victory that would secure his place in history. He studies the city's defenses carefully. He gathers engineers, architects, and weapons makers. He invests heavily in new technology, especially massive cannons designed to break walls that had stood for centuries. But Mehmed understands something even more important than weapons: patience. He builds his army slowly, strengthens supply lines, prepares for a siege that will not fail. Because, unlike previous attackers, he is not coming to test the walls. He is coming to destroy them. For centuries, Constantinople survived because of one defining advantage: its walls. The massive Theodosian walls stretched across the land side of the city, forming one of the most sophisticated defensive systems ever built in the medieval world. They were not just a single barrier, they were a layered system. First, a wide moat designed to slow advancing armies. Then, an outer wall, and behind it, a much taller and thicker inner wall reinforced with towers placed at regular intervals. From these towers, defenders could see approaching forces long before they arrived. They could fire arrows, drop stones, and defend multiple positions at once. For nearly 1,000 years, these walls held. They stopped Persians, they stopped Arabs, they stopped countless invading armies that tried and failed to break through. The walls became more than stone. They became a symbol, a belief that Constantinople could not fall, that no matter how powerful the enemy, the city would survive. But in 1453, something had changed. The rules of warfare were no longer the same, because this time the attackers brought weapons powerful enough to turn even the strongest walls into targets. The most terrifying weapon of the siege is not the army itself, it is the cannons. The Ottomans bring massive siege guns unlike anything the defenders of Constantinople have ever faced. Some are so large they must be transported on reinforced wagons, pulled by teams of oxen, moving slowly across rough terrain just to reach the battlefield. Among them are giant bombards capable of firing enormous stone balls. Each shot echoes like thunder. When the cannons fire, the ground shakes beneath the city. The impact against the Theodosian walls is devastating. Stone cracks. Dust explodes into the air. Sections of the outer defenses begin to crumble. For centuries, these walls had stopped every enemy. But they were built for a different kind of warfare, not for gunpowder. Inside the city, defenders rush to respond. Through the night, they repair damaged sections using whatever materials they can find: stone, wood, even earth packed into gaps. But the repairs are temporary. At sunrise, the cannons fire again and again. Each Uda weakens the defenses further. Each explosion brings the enemy closer. And slowly, an unthinkable realization spreads through the city. The walls that once made Constantinople invincible are beginning to fail. Inside Constantinople, daily life begins to change in ways that are impossible to ignore. At first, the city tries to maintain normal routines. Markets open, bells ring, soldiers rotate along the walls. But as the siege continues, everything slowly tightens. Food becomes scarce. Supplies that once arrived by land are now cut off. Prices rise quickly. Bread becomes harder to find. Families begin rationing what little they have, stretching meals across days. Water must be carefully managed. Public wells grow crowded. People wait in long lines, watching supplies diminish week by week. Sleep becomes difficult. Cannons fire throughout the day and sometimes into the night. Each Uda shakes the city, reminding everyone that the walls are slowly weakening. Along the defenses, soldiers are exhausted. They repair damaged sections of the walls every night, hauling stones, timber, and earth under the cover of darkness. By morning, they return to their positions, preparing for another day of attacks. Civilians gather inside churches, especially in places like the Hagia Sophia, praying for protection, for relief, for a miracle. Rumors spread constantly. Some say help is coming from Europe. Others whisper that the city is already lost. And with each passing day, hope becomes harder to hold on to, because outside the walls, the enemy is not leaving. As the siege drags on, it becomes clear that this will not be a quick victory. Weeks of bombardment have weakened the walls, but they have not yet collapsed. Inside the city, defenders repair the damage every night, working in darkness, exhausted but determined. Outside the walls, Mehmed II begins preparing for a decisive breakthrough. He understands that time is critical, so he changes the strategy. The massive chain blocking the entrance to the Golden Horn has protected the city's harbor for centuries. As long as it holds, Ottoman ships cannot enter. But then something unexpected happens. Under cover of night, Ottoman engineers and soldiers begin moving ships over land. Wooden tracks are laid, logs are greased, and one by one, ships are dragged across hills and lowered into the water behind the chain. By morning, the impossible has happened. Ottoman warships now sit inside the harbor. The city is no longer protected on one side, it is surrounded. Inside Constantinople, panic spreads. Defenders rush to reposition troops, but resources are already stretched thin. Attacks increase in intensity. Cannon fire continues day and night. The walls are cracking. The soldiers are exhausted. And now, for the first time, it becomes clear to many inside the city that the end is no longer a distant possibility. It is approaching fast. Before dawn, on May 29th, 1453, the final assault begins. The darkness is broken by the sound of drums, horns, and shouting across the Ottoman lines. Torches flicker as thousands of soldiers move into position. Then, suddenly, the cannons fire again. The bombardment shakes the weakened walls. Moments later, the first wave advances. Irregular troops rush forward, climbing ladders, testing the defenses, forcing the defenders to reveal their positions. Arrows and stones rain down from the walls as Byzantine soldiers fight desperately to hold the line. But this is only the beginning. After the first wave, stronger, more organized units move in. Then the elite troops, the Janissaries, disciplined, heavily armed, advancing with precision toward the breaches in the walls. The defenders are exhausted. They have been fighting for weeks with little rest. Every man is needed. Every position is critical. And then it happens. At one of the damaged sections of the wall, Ottoman forces break through, a small opening at first, then wider. More soldiers push inside. The defense begins to collapse. Shouts echo through the city. The gates are breaking, and the fall of Constantinople is no longer a possibility. It is happening. Once Ottoman forces break through the weakened sections of the wall, the balance of the battle changes instantly. What had been a siege becomes a collapse. Soldiers pour through the breach, spreading into the outer defenses and moving deeper into the city. The narrow streets that once felt safe behind massive walls now turn into chaotic battlegrounds. Defenders try to regroup. Some form small lines of resistance. Others retreat toward key positions. But the pressure is overwhelming. There are too many attackers, too many entry points. Communication breaks down. Orders become unclear, and slowly the defense of Constantinople begins to fall apart. Amid the chaos, the Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos is seen near the fighting, refusing to abandon the city. According to accounts, he removes his imperial insignia and joins the battle as an ordinary soldier. After that moment, he is never seen again. As Ottoman forces push further inward, resistance fades. Some citizens flee toward churches, hoping for safety. Others hide in homes. The great city that once stood as an unbreakable fortress is now overrun. By the end of the day, the banners of the Ottoman Empire rise above Constantinople, and with them, a new chapter of history begins. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 is not just the end of a city, it is the end of an era. For over 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire had preserved the legacy of the ancient Roman world, its laws, its culture, its knowledge. Constantinople stood as a bridge between continents, connecting Europe and Asia through trade, religion, and diplomacy. Now, that bridge has changed hands. With the city under Ottoman control, major trade routes between East and West are transformed. European powers begin searching for new paths to Asia, routes that will eventually lead to the age of exploration. At the same time, the Ottoman Empire rises as one of the most powerful states in the world, controlling Kluchevia territory across Southeast Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. For many in Europe, The fall of Constantinople is a shock, a warning that even the strongest walls can fall, a signal that the balance of power is shifting. Historians often look back at this moment as a dividing line between the medieval world and the early modern age, because in a single day, an empire ends and a new world begins. What you've just experienced is a reconstruction of Constantinople during its final days in 1453, when one of history's greatest cities fell and a new era began. The walls, streets, and atmosphere were recreated using AI reconstruction technology to visualize this historic turning point.